Hey guys, you're watching Editor G, and today we've got with us the Moto E7 Power. This is Motorola's latest offering to the budget-conscious buyer, and it offers near stock Android to the affordable shopper. So let's see everything that this gets. So let's get started with the exterior. On the front, you'll see this large 6.5-inch Max Vision HD Plus display, and it is an IPS LCD panel, so you will see the brightness sort of shift with the viewing angles, but it's not too bad. It's pretty nice as an LCD display. It is HD Plus resolution, which means 720p, which means you're not going to get full HD content or Widevine L1 certification, which will offer you HD content from Netflix, etc. So there's none of that here, but still it's a pretty vibrant screen. The colors are quite nice, and even if you dive down here into the settings, you can actually change the sort of colors that your display gives you. You can have natural, boosted or saturated depending on your preference. The bezels here are quite slim on the sides, although there is a slightly pronounced chin at the bottom, and on the top you'll see a teardrop notch which houses the front camera, which I'll get to later. Now, talking about the camera, let's quickly turn it around and take a look at the rear camera, which is a dual camera setup with an LED flash. Here you'll also notice the Motorola logo, which holds the fingerprint scanner, and on the bottom you'll see the outward facing speaker. Because this phone does not get a speaker at the bottom, it gets it on the back, and at the bottom all you get is your USB Type-C port, which is good to see at a phone at this price point. And you also get to see the microphone. On the top you'll see the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is nice to see. On the sides here you get a power button, you get the volume rockers, and you get a dedicated Google Assistant button at this price point, which is very good. And on this side you get the SIM card tray, which I'll open and show you in a second. Okay, so let's open up that SIM card tray. Here it is. Now here you'll see that you have the option of either using two SIM cards or one SIM card and a micro SD card. It is a hybrid slot. It doesn't seem to have the full functionality of having two SIM cards and a micro SD card at the same time. Let's put that back in for now, and let's get into what else the phone has. So this Moto E7 Power runs on the HELIO G25 chipset. So the day-to-day performance with this HELIO G25 is pretty good. The phone still feels quite snappy, even though it is only rocking around 4GB RAM and that HELIO G25. It still feels quite smooth. There's no high refresh rate on offer, of course, but it is all buttery smooth, no sort of lags here or there. It's pretty smooth all around. Now, talking about gaming, of course, the HELIO G25 is not the most powerful processor we've ever seen, but it is good enough for tap-tap games, and it is absolutely fine for this sort of usage. There's no problems with it whatsoever, no sort of drop frames, no sort of lag, nothing whatsoever. It just sails through this sort of performance. But yes, we definitely don't recommend trying to play very high intensity, high graphic games with this device. This processor is not really meant for that sort of usage. Now, talking of storage, this gets 64GB of onboard storage inbuilt, and you can expand it up to 1TB with that micro SD slot, which is a good thing to see. You'll also get to see Android 10 right here with the December Android security patch currently installed on this device. Now let's dive right into that camera app and see everything that we get. Now, the front facing camera here is a 5MP unit on that water drop notch, and the rear facing dual camera setup houses a 13MP main primary sensor along with a 2MP macro sensor at the back, which actually offers some pretty good shots. Now, these pictures, I'll put them on screen for you, but they are quite nice. The details are actually quite sharp, even though it is only a 13MP sensor. You do have HDR on offer, so you'll be able to see that it is able to tone down the overexposed areas to a certain degree. And overall, even the macro camera seems to perform pretty well. I got some really nice close-up shots with this, as you can see on screen right now. Now, that 5MP selfie camera takes pretty decent pictures, especially with the HDR on, I should say. With the HDR, it really manages to capture the exposure quite well, as you're seeing on the camera samples in front of you right now. The portrait camera actually takes very decent pictures. At this price point, it's very surprising to see such good edge detection all around. Now, of course, this being a budget focused phone, you do not get any sort of night mode or dedicated night mode here, but you can turn on this M manual mode and then you get somewhat manual control over what the camera setup is actually doing. Apart from that, you also get this panorama mode where you can capture really nice panorama shots with that 13 megapixel sensor. On the video front, you'll be able to capture 1080p video both with the front and the rear cameras at 30 fps. Okay, now let's talk about utility. This fingerprint scanner is really quite fast and there's literally no failed input. At least ever since I've set it up and I've been using it, there's little to no input delay whatsoever. It's really sharp and it's really quick to respond. When it comes to holding it in the hand, yes, that 6.5-inch screen means it is quite large, but it is still easy to hold in one hand. It weighs only 200 grams, so it doesn't feel all that heavy or unwieldy in the hand while using it. So like we said before, this gets near stock Android, so that means no bloatware whatsoever, and at a budget price point, that's a very refreshing thing to see, that under 10K, you can buy a smartphone where you get only Google apps. That is really awesome to see in 2021. Apart from this, since it is Android 10, you obviously get things like gestural navigation and multitasking, and you also get things like this dark mode. When it comes to battery, you should be absolutely sorted because this device gets a 5000 mAh unit, which is quite large. We do see this sort of battery unit at this price point. It's not unheard of, but to see it on a device with a HELIO G25, it's good, which means that this display is a non-HD display. It's not going to be sucking that much power. Same goes for that chipset, and same goes for the rest of the features that this phone backs in, which means that it will be able to give you very good usage timings. In fact, it'll probably last you upwards of 2 days if you're not a very heavy user. You also get a 10-watt charging adapter in the box, which isn't the fastest, especially for a 5000 mAh battery, but I mean, it is better than a standard 5-watt charger, and it will get the job done in around a couple of hours. It's also worth noting that the Moto E7 Power comes with an IP52 water repellent rating, which means that it should be able to avoid the odd splash here or there, but certainly don't go jumping into a swimming pool while having this phone on you. Now, this Google Assistant button, the dedicated one at the top, it is very handy, but the only problem I find with it is that it's quite out of reach, especially with a phone this large. If you're holding it like this with one-handed usage, you really have to shuffle your hand up quite a lot to be able to get to that dedicated Google Assistant button, but it's still a very nice addition to see at this price point. It's also worth mentioning that you do get a TPU plastic case, silicone case in the box. That comes as standard, and it actually goes a long way in protecting the back plastic panel, because it looks as stunning as it looks. It is susceptible to scratches like all plastic is, and it's good of Motorola to include this sort of TPU case in the box as standard. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the pricing. Now, the Moto E7 Power starts at 7,499 rupees for the 2GB RAM, 32GB storage model. But this particular variant, the 4GB RAM, 64GB storage model, costs 8,299 rupees. And I think that's a really good deal for what you're getting. You're getting near stock Android, you're getting a decent processor that'll be able to do all your daily day-to-day tasks, and you get a camera that can perform pretty well in normal day-to-day conditions. Low light may not be its forte, but day-to-day conditions, it'll take all your pictures, including from your front selfie camera, absolutely fine, no problems there whatsoever. It also comes with a really large 5000 mAh battery, which should last you up to 2 days with normal to medium usage, and it also comes with USB Type-C charging and an IP52 water repellent design. So for all that, just 8,299 rupees, I think that's an absolutely reasonable price. So that was our take and our look at the Moto E7 Power. Let us know what you think about it in the comments, and as always, do keep watching Editor G.